So today we will do nutrition. So basically when we talk about nutrition, it means the food we eat. So basically when we eating the food, obvious thing is it will provide energy. But in addition to energy, you also need food for various other functions. One of the most important function is growth of the body. In addition to growth of the body, you also require food to repair the damaged cells or tissues. So just when I talk about nutrition, it means the food that we are putting into the body, and the food can be classified into various components like carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. So first thing we're going to discuss about carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are basically compounds which contain carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. When carbon, hydrogen and oxygen are present, such a compound is called carbohydrates. Carbohydrates provide energy. Carbohydrates are again further divided into monosaccharides, disaccharides and polysaccharides. When we talk about monosaccharides, disaccharides or polysaccharides, what it means is monosaccharides are the sugars or carbohydrates which are easily digested. They do not need any further digestion. Disaccharides, they have to be broken down, and polysaccharides, they have to again be broken down into many finer pieces. So when we talk about monosaccharides, the most famous example is glucose, that is nothing but sugar, and its formula is. Another example of monosaccharides is fructose. Fructose means fruit sugar. Disaccharides, example is sucrose, that means cane sugar, the sugar which you get from sugar cane. It's a disaccharide made up of 2 units of glucose. Polysaccharides means made up of many units of carbohydrates. Most common example is starch and glycogen. Starch you get it in potatoes, and glycogen is basically found in mussels. So carbohydrates are nothing but compounds containing carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. They provide energy, and these are of various types like monosaccharides, disaccharides and polysaccharides. Next, fats. Fats are made up of glycerol and fatty acids. So basically fats provide more energy when compared to carbohydrates, but the thing is it also takes a longer time to digest fats. So what happens is excess fats is stored under the skin. So next is proteins. Proteins basically help in growth of the body. When we talk about proteins, you basically get proteins from meat and eggs. So you have all heard about bodybuilders talking about intake of proteins, because proteins help in the growth of muscles. Next is minerals. Minerals are various elements which are required for various functions. Certain elements are required in huge quantities, so such are called macronutrients, that means required in huge amounts. Some which are required in less are called micronutrients. So just to give a few examples like calcium, phosphorus, sodium and iron. Calcium and phosphorus, they are essential for the normal growth of the bones and teeth. Iodine you need so that you do not suffer from goiter. Goiter is a swelling in the throat. So all these elements basically help in the functioning of the body. Next is vitamins. Vitamins means vital amines, and they all have amines in them. Amine is represented by NH2. So vitamins can be classified into two groups: water soluble and fat soluble. Water soluble consists of vitamin B complex, fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, K. Vitamin D you all know you get from the sun, which is good for the growth of the bones. So again, if certain vitamins are not sufficiently present in the body, for example, if your body has not received sufficient vitamin A, then you suffer from a disease called night blindness. So diseases which are caused due to lack of certain nutrients are called deficiency diseases. For example, if you do not get sufficient iron in the body, you might suffer from goiter. And goiter is mostly common in hilly regions because the people do not use iodized salt. Another such example is marasmus and kwashiorkor. Marasmus is basically common in children below the age of 1 year. Kwashiorkor occurs in small children. Now what happens is, both diseases are caused due to lack of sufficient protein or carbohydrate in the diet. As such individuals have retarded body growth, thin bones and thin legs. So diseases caused due to lack of such things are called deficiency diseases. These were just examples which I gave you a few. Now, in addition to this, the most important thing to remember is balanced diet is essential for the proper functioning of an individual. By balanced diet, what it means is a diet which contains all the necessary nutrients in the right amount. That means it should contain sufficient carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins and minerals. You cannot have a diet which is rich in carb, less in proteins, less in vitamins and less in minerals. Everything should be present in the right amount, and such a diet which contains all these necessary nutrients in the right amount is called balanced diet. Now, depending on the age and the sex of an individual, you will require different types of balanced diet. For example, if you compare the diets of men, women and children, obviously the requirements will be different. Men require huge amount of energy because basically most of the men are used to doing physical work, but when compared with the women and children, they do less amount of physical work, so they do not require huge amounts of energy. So depending on these, each individual has a unique or different necessary or needed diets. And the last thing to remember is water. Water, what it does is, it helps in dissolving all these nutrients and making them into a more soluble form. Water also supplies the body with essential vitamins and minerals. In addition to this, water is basically lost from the body in the form of urine or sweat, so it has to be replenished. So we have to drink huge amounts of water. So this is it.